I the a-hole for telling my wife off after getting our daughter to cut her hair off? Am I the a-hole for telling my sister-in-law that the grudge she's been holding against me over wedding photos is stupid? Am I the a-hole I told my daughter not to bother applying for college? My fiance cheated on me with my sister. You're destroying this family by not sitting somewhere else on an airplane. If you have time to get mad over something a 9-year-old did, be better. Am I the a-hole for telling my wife off after getting our daughter to cut her hair off even after being told not to? My wife is currently battling cancer, and one of the things she's told me she's struggling with most was losing her hair. She's been given a near 100% chance of survival since we caught it early, but the chemotherapy has destroyed her hair anyways, and she had to shave off what was left of it a few weeks ago. Not long after that, she suggested we attempt to get our 17-year-old daughter, Anna, to do so as well. Anna has very long hair that she puts a lot of care into, so I felt like it was appropriate to ask her in private if she wanted to / would be willing to do such a thing. She told me that she didn't want to cut her hair, and I figured that was the end of it. However, yesterday they came home from a girls shopping trip, something they do very often, and Anna had a buzzed haircut. That struck me as odd after what she'd said, so after dinner I talked to her and she told me that my wife had said she would never forgive Anna if she didn't show her support by buzzing her head. That is evil. That's so manipulative. Oh my God. I asked her if she was happy about it, and she said that she wasn't. When I went to bed, I brought it up with my wife, and she said it was Anna's choice too or not, and I just told her how I'd see the situation. I told her off, saying she needed to respect Anna's personal choices and that a 17-year-old being against shaving her head wasn't exactly out of the ordinary. However, my wife simply said it was to show support for her. I've been sleeping on the couch since. I love my wife and understand that she's going through something traumatic. However, her attitude comes off as very manipulative to me, and that's not a behavior I feel I can personally accept. I'm not sure if I can move past this to continue the relationship. That's like abusive. That's like emotionally abusive to be like, do this or I won't like you anymore. Especially coming from a parental figure. That is so absolutely terrible. Get rid of your wife or get her in therapy. That is never okay. Like, what does that actually do for her? Oh, I lost my hair. It's so hard for me. Oh, I'm gonna make my daughter cut her hair too. That'll make me feel better. What does that say about the wife? Not the a-hole. Your wife is a flaming a-hole. I'm sorry that she has cancer, but what she did to your daughter was very abusive. If she's unable to deal mentally with her disease and treatment, then she needs professional help, not to manipulate and coerce your daughter into making a choice that she didn't want to make. Make no mistake, she abused your daughter. There it is. Get rid of the whole wife. Am I the a-hole for telling my sister that the name she chose for her son was not our grandpa's actual name, but the nickname he hated? My sister wanted to honor our late grandpa in her son's name and chose to call her son Bobby, which is what pretty much everyone called our grandpa. She mentioned the name being so special because it was his beloved great grandpa's name, and that it would be so special for our grandpa to have his name lived on. So here's the thing. Bobby was my grandpa's nickname and he hated it. His actual name was Cyrus, which was grandpa's mom's maiden name. Grandpa was named that by her, and after she died and his dad remarried, they started calling him Bobby because his stepmother's dad was Robert. Grandpa always hated Bobby, but after years of people refusing to listen, he gave in. He had a handful of friends who called him Cyrus/Cy, but that was it. I told my sister this and she was upset and asked why he hated Bobby. Bobby is so cute. I asked her how she'd feel to be named after her late parent and for his surviving parent and step-parent to then rename you after the step-parent side unofficially, but to the point where it sticks more than your actual name. She was glad at first, but after a few weeks she snapped and told me she doesn't like Cyrus, and I ruined the name Bobby for her. Edit, her baby was not born and is still not born, so I wanted her to know before he was here. Oh, well, I think there's an argument for them to be the a-hole if the baby was already born, but I don't think there's an argument if the baby isn't born yet. Definitely is not the a-hole, plus Cyrus is so cute, and if she wanted to honor him, why name her son something that doesn't actually honor her grandpa? If the sister's whole point was to honor the grandpa, wouldn't she want to know this so that she wasn't naming the kid after a name that he didn't like? I think Cyrus is a cute name. Like, it's not like a generic one. Cyrus is cool. Bobby is lame. The kid got a cooler name and they're actually honoring the grandpa. Yeah, not the a-hole. I'm gonna go with that. It makes it sound like she's honoring his stepmother's dad, not their grandpa. Ooh, that's a really good point. It seems weird to me that the grandpa didn't like tell them. Like, it's one thing if like the family that you might not like is calling you this against your will, but then like when you raise your own family and can control that and they're like, hey, call me Cyrus, not Bobby, you know? Or like with the grandma, like why didn't he tell the grandma, oh, I prefer Cyrus over Bobby because that's like my real name? Am I the a-hole for leaving my boyfriend at a bar bar because of a joke he made. I, 22 female, have been dating my boyfriend, 23 male, for about 9 months now. I am Asian and grew up in my home country pretty much all my life until I was 19 and went abroad to a European country to study. My boyfriend is from this country I'm currently studying in. He has shown interest in my background a bit, and I honestly like talking to him about it. I never questioned anything about our relationship until last night when we went to a bar with some of his friends. One of his friends asked if my boyfriend was trying to learn my native language, and we told him no. My boyfriend went on to joke about how my language sounded too rough and weird for him to even try. I gave him a confused look, and he said that he would have if it were more like Japanese or Korean. I was completely silent after that and made up some excuse and left. It wasn't subtle at all, but I didn't care at the time and felt like crying. He's been blowing up my phone with messages and calls, and all the messages say is that I overreacted and embarrassed him in public. I haven't replied or picked up any of his calls. I am in no way saying that he must learn my native language, but the way he explained it hurt me. Now I'm wondering if I really did overreact and I'm looking too deep into it, so am I the a-hole? No, I don't think so. Here's the thing, I don't think she reacted correctly. You can't expect somebody who experienced like borderline racism, not borderline, racism from somebody that they're dating to have a rational reaction to what just happened. Could she have sat there and like communicated why she was upset? Of course, but that should come after. If he had blown up her phone being like, I'm so sorry I said that was over the line. Maybe she's an a-hole if she's like, I don't want to talk it out with my boyfriend. But because of how this person doesn't even realize like how messed up, how racist it is to say something like that and to like turn it on them is just big no, big red flag. He's 100% the a-hole. He changes opinions to impress his friends. Experienced many times it sucks. Well, I wonder if this is actually how he felt, or like if he doesn't realize like how messed up it is to like make fun of someone's home language. I wish she would have explained like what is her, she just says that she's Asian. I'm trying to think, like, I'm gonna be real honest, like I'm half Japanese, like I've heard Japanese, Korean, Chinese, like not gonna lie, they all sound a little similar to me. Like I can't really tell the difference. Like the fact that he's like, oh, it sounds too rough. It's like, what? Like what a weird bone to pick. Not like, oh, it's too complicated or I'm not smart enough. Like, oh, it sounds too rough. I don't think she should be with that guy, especially if he can't recognize that what he did was like messed up. Not the a-hole. He called your language rough and weird. How is that a joke? A lot of languages can be considered weird and rough. Yes, not disagreeing with you there, but you don't say that at your significant other's expense as a joke. Calling out her language like that was rude. No a-holes here. Oh, I am from the Balkans and I can count how many times people told me my language sounds rough. Like I am fighting all the time. I talk to my mom and my boyfriend asked me, why did you fight? What happened? Or, oh no, did something bad happen? I am like, we didn't fight. I literally told her I love her, LOL, but that's just how it sounds to people. I see it as just normal. I'm gonna stick with not the a-hole. I think no a-holes here doesn't really fit. Would I be the a-hole for uninviting anyone who attended a winery day from my bridal shower and possibly wedding? My fiance, 32 male, and I, 30 female, are getting married in a few months. We have been dating for 2 years. When we first started dating, his sister, 25 female, and I got along great. But when I asked her to be a bridesmaid, she turned me down. I assume because she would not be the center of attention. Everything spiraled from there, and now we are pretty much non-contact with her. She's a brat, truth be told, and it created a ton of unnecessary drama. Some highlights were showing up with no gift to our engagement party and not saying a word to us. She ran into my brother in public and was extremely rude to him. Her and her boyfriend denied this happened and called my brother a liar. Now she is no longer invited to the wedding. This summer, we made an effort to see other members of his family, so we've been spending our weekends meeting up for dinner with different members of his family. Naturally, the issues with his sister come up. I chose not to hold back and told them exactly what she did. I thought they should know how toxic she is and decide for themselves if they want her in their lives. Yesterday, I saw on Instagram, one of my fiance's cousins posted a bunch of pictures from a girl's wine day. All his female aunts and cousins were there, and of course his sister was there. I was so hurt that they wouldn't even invite me. It felt like the pictures were posted specifically to make me feel bad and show that they took her side. I'm supposed to be marrying into this family in a few months and they completely left me out. I reached out to one of his aunts I thought I was close to and asked if my fiance's sister planned this. She said no, it was another aunt. When I asked why I wasn't invited, she said it was because of the drama between me and fiance's sister. They didn't want the day to be uncomfortable, so chose to keep it to just family, which hurt to hear that they don't consider me family. I asked her if that meant that they all took her side. She claimed no one was taking sides, and if I chose to take it that way, it was up to me. I ended the phone call very upset. My bridal shower is in a few weeks, and I don't want any of them there. It's for friends and family, and obviously they don't consider me family, so they don't need to be there. I want no drama at my shower and only people who are happy for me and love me there. I'm debating if I want them at the wedding, but I will deal with that later. I have a mass email written up, ready to send, disinviting them from my shower. My fiance is fine with it. He can't stand his sister and is angry with his family. My maid of honor is trying to talk me out of sending it, saying it will ruin my relationship with his family and my wedding and upset my mother-in-law, but I think it's already ruined. I'm kind of leaning towards you're the a-hole here. Yes, you're supposed to be joining the family, but you're basically telling them you want them to pick her over their like actual family. I'm just picking up a really big sense of entitlement in here. It's basically he said, she said, and she's expecting them to take her side, trying to create this dissonance or this break between family members when you're just joining the family seems like an a-hole move to me. It felt like all the pictures were posted specifically to make me feel bad and show that they took her side. Probably not. Like, they probably just were like, oh, hey, let me show my fun time. It would be an a-hole move for you to uninvite everybody, cause unnecessary drama. Like, I think you just got to be the big person here. Clearly you don't like the fiance's sister, but like, it seems like you're trying to break up the family. Yeah, she's a brat, but just like get over it. You know, what did she do? Hold on, let me read this. Some highlights were showing up with no gift to our engagement party. I'm gonna chalk that up to stupidity, or maybe she's broke. She ran into my brother in public and was extremely rude to him. Her and her boyfriend denied this happening and called my brother a liar. Sure, that's like not great, but it's not the end of the world. Like, maybe the family doesn't like this girl and this sister is the only one to step up to it. She seems to think she's better than the sister in every way possible and is trying to justify it with poor excuses. Yeah, and she's also putting like all the people she wants to uninvite to the wedding, she's putting them in a tough situation. I chose not to hold back and told them exactly what she did. I thought they should know how toxic she is. It's one thing if it's like she's doing drugs and stealing money and cheating on all of her significant others, but it literally just sounds like she lied one time and was rude and didn't bring a gift. You're the a-hole if drama is constantly following you around, and I bet it is. You are the source of it. You cannot have a relationship with your future sister-in-law. You cannot, however, demand that everyone do the same. Am I the a-hole for refusing to switch seats with a kid on an 8-hour flight? This was my second 8-hour flight on my way home from Africa via Dubai. I had booked an aisle seat so I could get up without bothering others and a special meal due to health requirements. I boarded the plane, found my seat, and settled in. A family gets on with 3 kids. They don't speak much English and asks if I could switch seats with one of their kids so they can be together. The father of the family wasn't sat anywhere near the mother and kids, so it looked to me like they had left their seats to random assignment. I initially said yes, thinking it was just a move across the aisle, but then realized they wanted me to switch to sit in a middle seat, and I said no. Another passenger then gets up and says he has a seat in the back that I can move to, and I said no. I said that I had booked my seat and ordered a dietary meal, and there was no way I was going to move to a middle seat. He then starts loudly criticizing me and saying he hopes I understand that I'm splitting a family up. You're destroying this family by not sitting somewhere else on an airplane. This eventually attracts attention from the crew because it's holding up boarding. They got a passenger on the other end of the row to switch and sit somewhere else so their kids could sit together. The other passenger from before then starts loudly saying to his kids and family, do you understand what happened? She thought her seat was too special, so she wouldn't let you sit together. I told the guy to mind his own business, and he responded that he wasn't talking to me. I was exhausted and sleep deprived by this point and told him to stop talking about me. I didn't think I was in the wrong here. I organized myself beforehand and booked my seat. Not the a-hole at all. I don't think it's that big of a deal if kids sit by themselves on an airplane. Like, if anything, it's probably a good thing, because if 3 kids are right next to each other without their parents close by, those kids are gonna be annoying. Normalize splitting up kids. Normalize not having kids on planes at all. I don't think they did anything wrong. Like, you don't owe anybody anything. Am I the a-hole for telling my sister-in-law that the grudge she's been holding against me over wedding photos is stupid? I, female 20, have an older brother, male 34, Tim. Tim has a wife, Vicky, female 33. For a while now, I've noticed Vicky has been acting weird around me. She avoids interacting with me, avoids eye contact, and doesn't make conversation, and generally seems annoyed with my presence. I wasn't really sure what her problem was. It was starting to get to me, so I gently as possible asked Tim about it. He confirmed Vicky was angry at me over something. He explained that a while ago, my mother posted some old photos from his and Vicky's wedding on Facebook. I don't have a Facebook, so I didn't know. And that she used a filter or photo editor that made my dress look white when it was actually pastel blue. Later, Tim, Vicky, and me were alone, and Tim brought this issue up and said that it needs to be talked about. Vicky started to become visibly upset, and she pretty much repeated what Tim told me and said that the edited photos were disrespectful. Somehow this makes sense that they use Facebook. This is something that only consistent Facebook users would get upset about, because it's so unbelievably stupid how it doesn't make sense. And that I really shouldn't have worn a color that was so close to white anyways. I reminded Vicky that I was 9 years old when they got married and don't even remember much from it. She said I must have had some choice in what to wear. I told her I don't know because I don't remember, and that if it bothers her so much, she should take it up with my mom. And I told her that this grudge she's holding against me is stupid. Vicky looked mortified and said that I didn't have to be so calloused and that I had no reason to be rude to her and dismiss her concerns. Tim is now also mad because I disrespected his wife. No, OP is just pointing out how stupid your wife is. Let me get this straight. So this was 11 years ago. So she's really really getting this bitter over 11 years ago? Over an edited photo that they couldn't control, a 9-year-old's decision. Do people have nothing better to do? Like, genuinely, bro, pick up a hobby, start gardening, get a cat, go to the gym. If you have time to get mad over something a 9-year-old did, be better. Am I the a-hole for not sharing my inheritance with the rest of my family? My family situation is messy. I, 25 female, was engaged 4 years ago to my high school sweetheart. My fiance cheated on me with my sister. What a hot start. Oh my god. We had never had a good relationship even as kids, so after I found out, I went scorched earth on both of them. She was so in love with my fiance, but he dumped her within 2 weeks. I like that. We love that. We love the karma. And he was back trying to get me to forgive him. I didn't. My parents were initially on my side, but my sister had a nervous breakdown after she was dumped and was hospitalized, so they changed her tune to "It's over now and you can't be mad forever." No, that is a mad forever type of situation if I've ever heard one before. So I dumped them too and went to grad school on the other side of the country. My grandfather was livid with the whole thing, disowned my sister, and chewed out my parents. Sometimes it felt like he was the only one who was on my side, and I understood. I was able to get my job to let me work remotely and moved back to take care of him when he got sick last fall, and I was devastated when he passed a couple of months ago. I had been in limited contact with my parents since I came back, mostly because I didn't want to be an obstacle to my dad seeing my grandfather, but with the understanding that any discussion of my sister or what happened would end that. It turns out that my grandfather left me virtually everything. He left enough for my father to cover a debt and some token stuff for a couple of other relatives, but he wrote letters for everyone and did a videotape with his attorney explaining what his intentions were. I knew that he had done well for himself, but he lived a pretty simple lifestyle, so I didn't realize how much money and assets he really had. I would give it all up to have my papa back, but even after taxes, it is a set for life money. My parents are pretty mad about it. One of the reasons stated for cutting them out was how disappointed my grandfather was with how they had treated me growing up versus my sister and over the fiance debacle. There were other reasons, but that's what they're fixated on. The will is pretty airtight apparently, so my parents want me to do the right thing and share it equally between me, them, and their sister. Their argument is that I don't need it. I make more than both of them combined, and this would allow them to retire. My sister is not doing great and can't hold a job, so this would ensure she has something for when my parents pass. I don't want to. My grandfather's wishes were crystal clear, and also I kind of don't feel like doing more than the minimum for any of them. They've been telling me that I'm being vindictive because of a mistake years ago. I can't deny there might be a little vindictiveness there. I don't want them to suffer necessarily, but I also don't feel like they deserve my help. That's probably one of the easiest, not the a-holes I've ever seen. I don't think there's anything to argue here. You don't owe the parents anything. You don't owe the sister anything. All that money was left for you. Sister should have been so crappy. Parents shouldn't have sided with the sister. Maybe the parents, but sister, nah. If that sister is willing to do something so terrible to you, let her suffer. She can't hold a job, that's her problem. Am I the a-hole for making my son cook for his sister, even if it means cooking at midnight and waking him up? My daughter is 21, gets off work at 4 a.m. She usually stays up until lunchtime and then sleeps until she goes to work. She works night shift. My son is 17 and still in high school. I'm at work when she is sleeping, but my son was home for the summer and he would wake her up to make him food. He would pester her until she did it so she could go back to sleep. It came to a head a month ago where my daughter lost it and I finally learned about it. And as his punishment, he has to make my daughter food when she asked for it at any time, the same amount she did for him. So it was about 30 times he woke her up, so he has to make her 30 meals. Everyone agreed, though my son wasn't happy and picked it over losing his phone for a month. So my daughter will wake him up to make her food. She still has 15 meals left. He hates it, but it gets the point across. Now school started and he got woken up last night to make her food. So this morning he was tired as all hell. He went to his grandparents and I got in a huge argument with my mom. She thinks I'm an a-hole, but the punishment fits the crime. My son won't talk to me and I'm questioning myself even though my husband is backing up the punishment. This is great parenting. It's literally 14 days now out of 185 school days. He won't fail school. That's extremely dramatic for 2 weeks of being tired. 100% not the a-hole. I think this is great parenting. I think it would have been so much worse if the OP had just taken away the phone for a month. What are you going to learn from that? This is fuck around and find out. The 17-year-old son sounds awful too. Like, if you have to wake up somebody else to make you food and you're 17 years old, figure it out, bro. Go get a packet of ramen. Like, what kind of 17-year-old can't figure this out? Like, what a bummy 17-year-old, bro. Absolutely not the a-hole. If I woke up my sister and told her to make me food, I would have gotten worse things to worry about. Yeah, bro, my sisters would have destroyed me, bro. Am I the a-hole? I told my daughter not to bother applying for college. I am 35 female and I have a 16-year-old daughter. My daughter has a late birthday, early mid-December, so she's going into her senior year of high school. She is a very smart girl and I'm proud of what she's accomplished, but she's also young and naive in a lot of ways. She's easily manipulated. She doesn't pay much attention to her surroundings. She can't stand up for herself. She constantly still calls or texts myself and her father for help with things. as a 16-year-old does. I've also been concerned about her doing dangerous things or submitting to peer pressure from her friends. I've met them and they are not good kids. I've told her to stop talking to them, but she refuses and tries to go behind my back. For these reasons, among others, her father and I have decided that we are not going to let her go off to college as long as she's a minor under our care. This means that she won't be going in fall 2024 because she doesn't turn 18 until that December. I'm not trying to stifle her, but I do want her to be safe. She was recently talking about starting to fill out college applications and I told her not to bother. I explained that we weren't letting her go until she's old enough to make that decision for herself. She started crying and yelling at me, but I refused to budge. I don't think I'm being unreasonable, and honestly, her reaction is more evidence of immaturity. But apparently, she texted her aunt, who has been calling me an a-hole. Edit 2, people seem to think that I will not allow her to go to a college at all. I am absolutely willing to let her go to college since she's 18 and we will pay for it. Wherever she wants to go, we have the means. Even if what you're saying is like valid, like if your kid is immature and maybe doesn't belong at college, the reason for that is because of you. Literally, part of college is like being away from your parents and figuring it out for yourself. Like, you can't shelter your kid, or honestly, they're gonna get to college and fall apart. And it sounds like you probably shelter the hell out of this kid. This kind of stuff, like she's easily manipulated, she has bad friends, like you kind of just have to learn that on your own. Whether that happens in high school or in college, there were so many people I hung out with in college that I stopped hanging out with because I was like, ooh, you guys are kind of bums. You just have to trust in yourself that you've taught your kids enough to know how to identify stuff like that. Definitely the a-hole here. I'm 25. I called my mom the other day for some help on cooking like potatoes. That's like cool. That's how it's supposed to be. I'm gonna call my mom forever and ask her anything and everything. It's way better to let the kid make the choices and value your opinion, and this is only devaluing your opinion. If you enjoyed, click right here to watch another one of my Reddit videos and hit subscribe so you don't miss out on new messy Reddit threads every week.